dokie. Right, well, I'm going to get started then. I'm not going to hang around too much longer. If you have any questions, then feel free to put them into the, well, I'll keep an eye on the Q&A panel and the chat. So if you have any questions, just pop them in there. I might do them as I go along, or I might come to them at the end. So this webinar is the 5 biggest Google Ads mistakes that I see made by e-commerce businesses. So I've audited a number of e-commerce ad accounts over the years, and there is a definite theme as to the biggest things that people tend to get wrong or miss when they're running their ad accounts. And this is what we're going to cover in today's webinar. So these are the 5 main things. So just to give you an idea of what we're covering today. So the biggest thing is conversion tracking, and then we're going to talk about devices and adjusting according to devices, and then we're going to look at campaign structure. It's specifically for shopping accounts and shopping campaigns. So I'm going to talk about the mistakes people make with that, and then I'm going to talk about bidding, and then we're going to talk about feed quality. So I'm not going to hang around there too much longer. Let's get stuck in with the first main point. So there are 2 issues when it comes to conversion tracking. So what conversion tracking does is it allows us to see exactly, or to rather record something that somebody does on a website that is of relevance to us. So for a lead generation website, or somebody who's looking for a builder or something who's looking for inquiries, that might be a phone call. It might be somebody filling out a form to make an inquiry on a website. For an e-commerce business, the main goal of that website is somebody placing an order on the website. So that is what we need to track. That's the main thing we need to track on any e-commerce website, is the fact that somebody has placed an order, and so that we can then track that back to say, where did they come from? Did they come from ads? Did they come from Facebook? Did they come from organic search? But there's a secondary part which I see a lot, where we might have people, so sometimes people will not be tracking these orders at all, which is massive. If you can't see what people are ordering, you do not have a clue whether your ads are paying for themselves or not. But very often you'll see people are tracking these purchases in their Google ad account, but they're not tracking how much each of those is worth. So there is a way to set it up where you can get the shopping cart system to send back to Google Ads the total amount of the shopping basket. Because if somebody spends £20 with me, or somebody spends £200 with me, that's a very different conversion. That's a very different purchase, and I will do different things inside my account depending on which of those it is. So we need to know, not only are people making purchases, but are we tracking the right amount for those purchases? So I'm quickly going through here I've just done a brief some screen shares to show you where you need to go. One, to check whether you are tracking these things, and where to go if you want to if you're not tracking and you need to set up. So inside your Google Ad account, in the top right hand corner, you'll see this spanner icon. So when you click on that, you get this menu coming up underneath, and under measurement there you'll see the top option is conversions. So when you click on that, you'll go through to the conversion tracking page. Now if you've never set up conversion tracking, you will have a different page to what I'm showing here. It'll show you, I think it's 4 different conversions that you can track. One is a phone call, one is I think a web form, one is a purchase, and something else, and there's something else I can't, they keep changing it, so it's always different. But if you have set them up previously, then what you'll have is this page here where you can see what you are tracking. So in this one here, we can see that we're tracking it sales. It's the category purchased sale, and that's what you want to see. And the status is recording conversions, and that's a website. It's coming from the website. So that's exactly what we want to see. To set up a new conversion, to track a new conversion, you just need to click, if you don't have the right one here, you just need to click that plus, the blue plus button there, and then it will take you to these are the 4 options here. You can track a website action, an app. So if you're like selling a web app and you want to track installs, phone calls, or you can import conversions from other systems like Google Analytics. The one we're interested in is the website, where you track the website. So you'll click on that one, and then it'll lead you through then setting up the conversion. So you want to enter a name, which you can just put purchase or order or whatever you want to put there, and then the category for this in this particular case is going to be purchase/sale. This is all on the same page, incidentally, but I've just separate slides because the pages were, you wouldn't have been able to read it otherwise. When it comes to, now this is the key, this is the most important part. It will ask you how to track the value of each conversion. So you've got a few options here. There's one which says don't use a value. There's one which says use the same value for each conversion, and then there's this one in the middle, which is the one that we want, which says use different values for each conversion. So you'll need to obviously change the default. You can change this currency here to whatever your currency on your website is, but you can also enter a default value. So what this does is, if there are times when the kind of system breaks and the Google Ads can't get a value from the shopping cart, or there's something happens in the tracking in the shopping cart where they're unable to give you the actual value of the shopping cart. So it is very important at this stage to set a default value for that shopping cart. Now what I would suggest that you put in here is take your average order value, which may be, I don't know, £35–40, and maybe put a slightly lower value in, maybe 10% less than your average order value, depending on how much data you have. If you know that's really accurate, then that's fine. But sort of either your average order value in here, or maybe a little bit less, 10% less maybe. So let's say £30, we put 30 in here, and you can, now the count section here, when it says every or one, what this means is, if I click on an ad and I come to your website and I place an order today, and then I realize that I forgot something or I wanted something else, so I come back tomorrow or later today and I place another order, then it's asking, do we want to count both of those orders? Because I only clicked your ad once, but I've placed 2 orders. Or do we only want to count the first one? For e-commerce, you want to count every order, because it's still relevant. That one sort of advert that you placed online generated those 2 orders, so you do need to count them all. The time when you'd only want to count one is if somebody's filling out a form as an inquiry or something and they accidentally submit it 6 times. You don't want to count every single one of those. But for e-commerce, we want to count every conversion as people come through to the site. Okay. Your conversion window, this is normally set to 30 days. Excuse me. Normally set to 30 days, which I would recommend is probably fine for most people. What this means is that if I click on your ad today, if I come back at any point in the next 30 days and I place an order, that will still be counted against that time I clicked today. If I click again in a week, then it restarts from that time to the next 30 days. So that's fine to be set to 30 days. A view through conversion window, that's more like for remarketing and things like that. You don't need to worry about that. You can set that to 1 day and that's absolutely fine. Very important that you, when it says including conversions, that's referring to the column in Google Ads where you actually track these conversions. So yes, that box must be ticked here so that you can actually see these inside your account. It will then ask you for an attribution model. We don't really need to go into a lot of detail with this. There's all sorts of ways that Google can track how it sort of attributes this purchase to, you might have clicked on a shopping ad today, you might have clicked on a text ad tomorrow, and I might have searched for you by your brand name the day after and clicked on the brand ad and then placed an order. It kind of, which of those clicks, if I click 3 different ads, which ad gets the sort of credit. That's what all this is talking about. High volume websites will have the option for data driven. That's using machine learning and really complex algorithms to track it most efficiently. That's always the one you'd go for. But what I would want you to choose here, for most people, you need to choose position based, because that will, as I said in the example that I just gave, if I clicked on your shopping ad, I didn't buy straight away, but I knew that I wanted to come back, and then I searched for your website actually by name, and then I click on your ad for your brand ad, not a shopping ad. I click on that ad, and then I place the order. What position based to do? It'll kind of share. It'll share the credit, so that you know that the shopping ad, although the last one you clicked was the brand ad, the shopping ad did contribute that, because that's what brought you to the website in the first place. So position based is definitely going to be best for most e-commerce websites if you don't have data driven available. Attribution modeling is a massive subject, so that's enough to get set up to start with anyway. Once you've saved your conversion, you will be asked how you want to set up the tag. This is at this point you will go through, if you're kind of au fait and you're comfortable installing it on the website, you just click on install the tag yourself, or you can use Google Tag Manager, and depending on which one you choose, it will then go off and tell you what you need to do, and you can just send that to your web developer, and they'll know exactly what to do to get that tag installed on the right pages on the website so that you can track the conversions. Tracking the revenue, I just quickly wanted to show you, once you start tracking revenue, you need also to be able to see that information inside your Google Ad account. So inside, when you're looking at your dashboard, you'll see that the little three vertical bars icon there, and that's where you can modify which columns you actually are able to view. So you need to be able to add those columns that give you the value of conversion, so you can see what kind of ROI you're getting. Once you click on that, you can, as is shown there, you can click modify columns, and then choose the conversions there's several categories. Choose conversions, and you want to make sure that you have these four, the minimum these four checked: conversions, cost per conversion, conversion value, and conversion value over cost. That's effectively your ROI. It's the revenue from your orders divided by how much it cost you to get that order. And then these are what the columns look like then when you've added them in on the dashboard. So you'll see here we've got 875 conversions on the total column at the top. Cost per conversion £3.32, conversion value 42,500, and conversion value over cost 14.63. So that is it's always displayed as a decimal. So that is 1,463% ROI. And so that data, you'll always have that in your dashboard. So at any time you can see which of your campaigns and ad groups are profitable and which ones are not, and you can make adjustments accordingly. Okay, so that's conversion tracking. So as always, as I say, if you've got any questions, just pop them either in the Q&A box or the chat, and I will come to them either as we're going along or at the end. So the next big one I see, and this is one that can have a massive impact on your results, and that is not making adjustments based on the device type that somebody's using to come to your store. I mean, more than 50% of searches, mobile overtook desktop a couple of years ago, actually, as far as sort of volume of traffic goes. But the problem is that most websites, especially e-commerce websites, do not perform very well on a mobile. They might be quite good, particularly, well, Shopify sites especially, they're really good for sort of browsing and finding products. They're usually quite good. But when it comes to actually purchasing, it can get really, it's just too small. Well, it is for me anyway, for a lot of people. So there's a really good chance that you've got a lot of traffic comes to your website on say mobile and tablets, but it's not converting very well. If you're not tracking that, then you don't know. So if you want to know, you can see this really easily, how the different devices are performing. If you go to, this is just a screenshot of the main overview dashboard inside Google Ads. Now I've just put loads of big arrows because I'm trying to say just need to scroll down the page to see where they've got these kind of blocks here, the biggest changes in the campaigns. Well, further down the page you've got more which show, or another one rather, which shows devices. And basically what this shows you is, and you can change the data inside of these. I've given two examples here. So the mobile phone's in blue, tablets in red, computers in yellow, and the top one represents, it's just a visual representation of the cost and how that's spread. So we can see in this one it's fairly well spread actually, but slightly more cost going to mobile than to computers, and least going to tablet. And then this represents here the cost per conversion by device. So it's quite clear here, as you can see, you're spending the most amount of money on mobile, but you've got the highest cost per conversion. You're spending less on computer, but you've got the lowest cost per conversion on computers. And then this bottom one here is the actual number of conversions. And again, it's you can see it's quite clear here. The device that you're spending the least amount of cost on, you've got the least amount of cost going through, is getting you the most number of conversions, and vice versa with mobile phones. You're spending the most on mobile phones, but getting the least number of conversions. So you can, these little arrows here in the interface, you can click these little arrows and change what is shown in each of these illustrations here. So what I've done is I've changed cost per conversion to conversion value over cost. You have to remember that conversion value over cost metric in the dashboard equates to your return on ad spend, your ROI figure. So the higher the figure we have here, the better. So 7.25, that's a 725% return on ad spend, which is a big difference to what you're getting on mobile phones, which is only 288% ROI. So you can see just from this how important it is to look at this and to say where, and adjust bids based on the fact that mobile phones are getting a way lower ROI than both tablets and computers. So where do you go to actually, well, make these adjustments? And to sort of see campaign by campaign how things are doing. So in the again in the dashboard, in the interface, you can see somebody at the door, sorry. You can see on the left-hand side, that's your menu coming down the left-hand side. What you'll need to do is scroll down the page until you see devices. And then once you click on devices, you will get this information picking up on the right-hand side. I've covered this. These, where it says added to, those are your actual campaign names. I've obviously covered that up for privacy, client privacy reasons. But across, what you'll see is you'll need to add your columns. Along to the right of this, you'll add your columns for cost and conversions, and cost per conversion and conversion value over cost. Those are those 4 essential ones that I said, noted earlier. And then you can look across and see, oh, hey, look, that on that particular campaign, I would sort by campaign. So you've got the campaign, and then it'll go computer, mobile, tablet for each individual campaign. And you can look across and see, okay, my return on ad spend for the mobile phones is half what it is on computers. So we can reduce the bids by 50%. So across the board, all mobile phones, we can say, right, we're not going to pay, we don't want to pay as much for those because they don't convert as well, they're more expensive. So we can just reduce the bids across the board on that campaign for all mobile bids. And then the aim then obviously is to get a more profitable campaign. Some campaigns, you know, it's good to do it by campaign like this, because some campaigns will do okay on mobile for some reason and others will do a lot worse. So just go down the list, make sure you've got enough data. If you've only got one conversion, maybe not enough data. Look at a long enough time frame, at least 30 days, even if you have to look at 90 days or even maybe 6 months worth of data to see a trend, and to get an idea of where the levels are and how much you need to reduce or adjust bids. One little tip is, if you can always try and leave computers at 0, so that's your kind of benchmark, your neutral slot, and then just adjust mobiles and tablets. So keep your computers, once you start adjusting computers up and down, then it just gets a little bit confusing, and you don't know whether you're bidding on your keywords up and down or your bid adjustments. But keep the computers neutral and just change the mobiles and the tablets. You usually need to go down, very rarely do you need to go up. So that potentially can make, as you saw with that one, with that the difference in that mobile return on ad spend there can make a massive difference. So that was number 2. Number 3, campaign structure. Oh, with e-commerce websites, I see this so often. We build a shopping campaign and we have the default ad group that Google gave us when we started it. And then all our products are in our ad group, and then just that's it, we let it go. We have every single product in one ad group, and if all the products are in the same ad group or the same product group, they can only have the same, they can all have one bid. You can't bid differently. You might have, most people have, say we had 100 products, you've probably got maybe 10 of those 100 products that are your kind of core products. They're the best sellers, they do really, really well, and you've probably got another 10 products that are just never sell anything, and then everything in between is kind of okay. You sell odd ones now and then. It doesn't make sense to bid the same amount for all 100 products, regardless of how well they sell, how profitable they are. It just doesn't make sense. So this is where inside a shopping campaign, you have the campaign, you have the ad group, and then you have a product group. So it's the product group where we place the bids. All right, so you can have one ad group and multiple product groups. Hope that makes sense. As I've shown here. So you can still just have the one ad group, but what you need to do is split your product groups into segments, which you can do. Let's have a look. Have I shown you screen shares? I haven't shown. I'm not. This isn't. This is not a shopping. I'm going to do an another webinar about sort of setting up shopping campaigns. But you need to kind of break down your product groups into sort of subsections that are sensible. That those can be single products. You can bid individual products at individual prices, or they can be maybe groups of products. I would suggest that have similar prices, because you wouldn't want to bid the same amount on a product that sells at £500 and the product that might sell at £5, say. You'd want different bids on those products. So that's having one ad group and then multiple product groups. You can have multiple ad groups and say, let's put everything that's under £50 in one ad group, all the £50 to £250 products in one ad group, all the anything over £250 in another ad group. And then, as is shown here, you can bid accordingly depending on what the product is worth. Okay, so we've got a question here. What happens if you've got irregular trends of how well products sell or no definitive bestsellers? Good question. If you don't have data on a particular product or a group of products, then that's absolutely fine. You can just let them sit in a product group in your Google Shopping campaign and set, a reasonable bid based on sort of how well based on the other bids that you've got in your shopping campaign, and let them slowly build up some data. Okay, and it's what will happen is, as the data comes in, that's when you will start making the adjustments. So there will be, if you sell products that kind of come in and out of fashion, then it's very difficult to predict it. That's very true. But you can wait for the data to build up inside your account, and they can just kind of sit. They can sit in their little product group. And you can, if you're not getting any traffic, you can just nudge your bids up a little bit as you go along until they start getting enough traffic, and then you can look and see if any of those particular products are showing signs of being bestsellers or bad performers equally, either way. Same way you mentioned there, if you don't have any definitive bestsellers, it might be that you have a whole lot of products that do equally well. That's absolutely fine, as long as you are adjusting bids based on performance, and based on sort of the data that's in your account. So if you haven't got any that are particularly good or particularly bad, that's fine. You don't need to make adjustments accordingly. You just look at the data that's in your account. So I hope that's answered your question. I hope I didn't waffle too much there, but yeah, let me know if that answers your question. If not, pop it in the thing and I'll try and clarify. But that was a good question. So looking at how you might want to break out your products. Now this is an advanced, you need kind of feed management software to actually structure accounts like this, but it's just something to think about, that you might want to, as I've already mentioned, you might want to group your products by price ranges, by profit margins, because some of your products might have a 20% profit margin, some of them might have a 60% profit margin. That makes a big difference as to how much you can pay to get that order. And product types. So sometimes just product types is a good way to do it. So you might sell, you might just want to segment your campaigns and say, I want to have all my ladies' clothing in one section, and then subdivide by skirts, trousers, blouses, shoes, handbags, whatever. Okay, whatever. There's no hard and fast rule with this. It's whatever is logical for your business and your products, and it's just really a place to start, so that you're not bidding exactly the same amount for every single product in your feed, because that is not going to get you anywhere, quite frankly. So just some ideas to start with there anyway. Which leads me on, so I've already mentioned bidding, leads me on to another thing that is very, very, very common, and that is not making the adjustments based on the performance that you're getting in your campaign. A lot of people will set up a campaign, whether that's a shopping campaign or a search campaign, they'll set it off, and then they just leave it, and they don't kind of look and see what's working, what's not working. So this is something that you need to be doing on a very regular basis, depending on how many products you have, how big your website is, how much traffic you're sending, how many visitors you're getting. You might want to do this. I would suggest you did this at least once a week. If it's a massive site, you'd be doing it every day. But I mean, at least once a month you'd need to go into this. But ideally, I'd say once a week, go in and you're looking for things that are doing really well, things that are doing really badly, and things that aren't doing anything at all, actually. We shall come to that in a moment. So in a nutshell, this is what you want to be doing. So anything that's performing well, you want to push the bids up. Anything that's performing poorly, you want to push the bids down. Anything that's not converting but spending a lot of money, you want to bid less. And anything that's not even, when we say not getting impressions, your ads aren't even showing up. So you're not getting any clicks on your ads because your ads just aren't showing up at all. So if you're getting a lot of products, or keywords for that matter, a lot of products that are getting no impressions, then you'll want to kind of nudge the bids up a little bit to try and get some visibility in the search results. So the way I do this is using filters inside the dashboard. Now, when you're, as I mentioned before, that we set our bids in shopping campaigns at product group level. So this is where you will set up, you'll go into product groups, into your shopping campaigns and into your product groups, and you will set up different filters so that you can really quickly just go in and say to Google Ads, right, show me all the products that people have placed an order and I've made more than 400% ROI. Okay, so you want to set, for e-commerce, I'd set these ROAS, that's return on ad spend filters. If it's lead generation, so if you're just getting leads, that's where you do CPA, which is cost per acquisition target. But for e-commerce, you just need this return on ad spend filters. You'd have one set for high return on ad spend, one set for low. You'd have one set to look for any product groups that have no conversions, so say over the last 30 days we're usually looking at here, have no conversions, and then you'd want one filter set up to show you products that are getting no impressions at all. You're not even showing up anywhere. So to do this, inside the dashboard, when you're inside your product group section, you'll see on the right hand side, you'll see that little funnel symbol there. So these are the ones that I've set up in the account. So what I normally do, I've said you want two filters for the target return on ad spend. What I tend to do is I will have a target in this particular account. I don't know what the target is on that one. So I will normally, so say for example you want a target of 400% return on ad spend. I will set one filter that is to find anything that's like 20% higher than that. So that would be 480% and above. And then I'd have one filter that want to find anything that is 20% below and lower. So I'd have one filter saying, show me all the conversions with a return on ad spend of less than 320%, and one showing all the conversions that are higher than 480%. Everything in the middle is fine because that's kind of around target, so those are okay. Don't need to do anything with those. So that's what these filters are here, and then one for no conversions, one for no impressions. So to set these up, here's your menu on the left where you're in product groups, and when you click on this add filter button here, it'll show you any saved filters that you might have here, but then it will also show you the options to select all the columns. It allows you to select all the columns that you want to add for your filter. So the one that you're looking for this one is all conversion value, or conversion value over cost. This one here, conversion value over cost. So you select that one, and then it will ask you for a value. So you'll type in here, in this case it's obviously 6, I would have put 6 in here, and then when you apply it will ask you for a name. Sorry, when you apply it will just show you the filtered results, and then you'll need to separately click on this little savey disk icon thing over here, and then it will ask you for a name to save your filter. So you'll just put ROAS greater than 6 and save that, and then next time you come in here, when you hit that filter button there, you'll get your options. You have to keep searching and looking and setting these up every time. You'll get them up ready-made to show your filters. So this is just a little, just a quick chart here to show you what the equivalent, so the field in Google Ads for cost per conversion is cost per conversion, return on ad spend is this conversion dot value over cost, and conversions is conversions, impressions is impressions. Okay, so hopefully that's fairly straightforward. Again, I've already gone over this. So you want one filter for 80% of your target, one filter for 120% of your target, so 20% over, 20% under, one filter for conversions less than 1. You can't actually set a filter for conversions equal 0. Don't ask me why, but you can't. So you have to set it for conversions less than 1. And one conversion for impressions equal, one filter for impressions equal 0. Okay, so basically then, anything that's lower than your target, you drop the bids. Anything that's higher than your target, you increase the bids because you've got room to get more volume and they're profitable. And then, if you're not getting conversions and it's spending a lot of money, you might want to either pause the product, exclude the product, or reduce the bids on those as well. That's quite a lot. It's quite complicated, that little section, but feel free to get in touch if you want any clarification on that. So the last one is a badly optimized feed. Now, we don't have any keywords in a shopping campaign. You don't tell Google what you want to show up for, in as much as you don't say, here's a keyword, ladies' shoes, go and show me an ad for ladies' shoes. What you do is you put all your product information inside Google Merchant Center, and then Google looks at the information in your product feed that you have created of all your products, and it looks at the title, looks at the description, and it decides whether you're relevant for somebody searching for a pair of red ladies' shoes. The problem we have with a lot of people is they might, you set your products up on your website, you're not thinking necessarily about keywords at that point. You're just, you have a lovely dress and it's called, it's a Valerie dress in blue, and your product title says Valerie dress blue. Well, that kind of doesn't really help me if I'm searching for, is it a maxi dress? Is it a mini dress? Is it an evening dress? Is it a ball gown? I don't know, because that information is not in the product title. And if it's not in the product title, Google doesn't know either. So that is a biggie. That's the most important place to have your keywords, is in your titles. The challenge is making your titles, getting keywords in titles without making them look ridiculously long and ridiculously clumsy. That's where feed management tools come in, because you can kind of make changes in a piece of software in the middle, which kind of links, which sits in between your shop and Google Merchant Center, and you can make tweaks in there to improve, to optimize your product titles without having to actually change your website. But that's, you know, that's a slightly advanced thing. But this is something that you can just, in a very basic way, think about how your product titles, and think about how somebody would search for that product, and are those product titles relevant to how they will search, and also the descriptions. Don't just copy, don't just have a 6-word product description. Make it full. Talk about the color, the pattern, the style, the design, the technical description, if it's a technical product, so that you're giving as much information as possible to Google, so that it knows when to show you up for relevant searches. Another big problem with product feeds is poor quality images. They are getting a lot stricter with the quality of images, and if they don't allow, there are certain minimum specifications now with images. You need white backgrounds. You need to show the product, not lifestyle shots of the product. It has to be the actual product on a white background with no, not allowed to have any watermarks or anything on it like that. But it does need to be high quality. So if somebody's searching for, in a shopping ad, just to illustrate, okay, these pictures here, that's what's going to draw my attention. If your pictures are, I'm just hoping that we'll have a rubbish picture here. No, they're all okay. They're not too bad. But if this particular image was really small and I couldn't see it and it was fuzzy, I'm really very unlikely to click on that image over this one, which is nice and clear, and I can see exactly what it is. So that's a big one, quality images. I know it's a lot of people will, I've got 1,000 products, can't possibly take pictures of all my products. You could possibly take pictures of your top 10 best-selling products. Start with those, get really good images, and then once you've got those, slowly, maybe as you add new products, then you can take pictures. But this is a big one. You really need to get really good product images. Right, so we've got a question again. How do you make the product title the most effective? For example, would you list the style first, the color? So it would come up as blue Valerie ball gown, or ball gown blue Valerie, if that makes sense. That makes perfect sense, and that's a very good question. And I will show you, because there is a recommended structure to a recommended way of structuring your product titles. Here we go. I'll stick this. Here we go. A link to this, because this is actually taken from a blog on Go Data Feed, and it gives you a template of how to set the best way to set up your product titles for Google Shopping. And it goes through various different ones, but the top one here is, as you can see, apparel here. So in answer to your question, we would look at this one and say, which one would we do? We'd go gender, brand, material, product type, size, and color. We might go, so let's say ball gown. So we'd go ladies ball gown, if it's brand, Karen Millen navy blue, actually ball gown would be at the end, so ball gown at the end. Or you might go ladies, Karen Millen, velvet, ball gown, size 12 navy. And that's how you would structure that product title. So that's a big question. And yes, there are various sort of guidelines for all sorts of different categories of products, which you can find. This is a blog on my website, but if you search, if you go to Go Data Feed as well, they have a really, really good blog post on that as well. And the last thing we have as well, which I find when people set up their shopping feed and they put it all into Merchant Center, they get it all set up, they get it all approved, lovely, they build their shopping campaign and that's it, they forget about it. It's very common that you might have products that get approved for Google Shopping, and then over time, Google, well, like I said with the images, Google changes what they want, changes what they need to have in the feed, and what's appropriate and what's not, and the rules change all over the place. And all of a sudden, you could find that your products are getting disapproved in Google Merchant Center, and you don't always get a notification if you haven't set up the alerts inside Merchant Center. So you could have 100 products in your feed, and you might find all of a sudden that 30 of those products are disapproved. And if they're disapproved in Google Merchant Center, they will not show up in your shopping campaign. So this is something that a lot of people don't do on a regular basis. All you need to do is just log into Google Merchant Center. Well, here we go. This is it. You log into Google Merchant Center, and in fact, this homepage will give you an idea, because you'll have a big red blob on here if you've got lots of disapproved products. But if you go to the diagnostics link here, and it will show you exactly where your errors are. So it'll say, here you go, on the account you have 4 errors and warnings. The feeds are looking good, but we have 16 errors and 8 notifications in particular products. So it shows you if you've got multiple feeds, multiple countries where they are, and it'll tell you what the problem is. Insufficient, we've got missing 2 out of the 3 attributes: GTIN, which is the barcode, brand, or the manufacturer's part number. And so it tells you. So item requires a GTIN. So these items here, they haven't got a barcode in the store, but Google recognizes that they should have a barcode and it wants you to put one in. So this is something that you can do on a regular basis. You can come in here and keep an eye on any products that come up with errors. You can just go in and slowly fix them, because as long as they're errors, they're not going to be showing up in your shopping campaigns. So that's the summary. So everything we've covered so far is the conversion tracking. You must be tracking conversions and revenue. You need to be looking at the performance of your devices, how your different devices, and adjusting bids accordingly. You need to think about how your shopping campaign is structured. We do not want to be bidding the same amount for every single product in your account. You need to break them up into smaller product groups so that you can bid different amounts for different products. And then you need to be making bid adjustments, looking at the good performers, increasing the bids on those, looking at the poor performers, reducing the bids on those, and trying to increase visibility on products that aren't getting any traction and aren't getting any views. And look at your product feed. Your product feed is the be-all, it's the most important thing of your shopping campaigns, the most important part. Look at your titles, think about your titles, optimize them, get really, really good product images, and make sure that you are checking in Google Merchant Center on a regular basis. Monthly is probably okay if you haven't got a massive feed and it doesn't change very often, but at least monthly, just log in, check, see if there are any errors. If there are errors, go in and fix them, and then that will keep your shopping campaigns running in a tip-top condition. So I hope that you have found that useful. I don't think there are any other questions. Are there any? No, there are no, can't see any other questions anyway. So thanks for Thanks for asking those questions. Those were really good questions, Hannah, so thanks for that. If you have a Google Ads account and you're running Google Shopping and you want to know whether you're doing a good job or whether things can be improved, then I really encourage you to book. I offer an hour-long deep dive session into your Google Ad account, where basically we will go on a screen share, and I will walk through your Google Ad account, and I will guide you through and show you what's working well, what's not. And it's free of charge. There's no commitment. But if you are spending money on Google Ads, you really need to know that it's working and that you're doing the best you can. So if you'd like to book one of those sessions, then you can do that at that web address there, deep-dive.youcanbook.me, or if you have any questions, want to reach out, then do give me a call. It's on 0808 178 1588. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for listening, and I will let you know of when we're having another webinar. But hope you enjoyed that, and I will speak to you soon. Take care now. Bye bye.